what is your diagnosis of Donald Trump?
Well, I've known Trump for a long time.
Right.
And I think people can make up their own minds about whether he's diagnosable or not. But I would say we can probably all agree that he lacks diplomacy. What is the hardest, darkest moment that you can think of in this journey you've been on the last several years?
You have to be very strong. You're fighting off very evil forces, and they're very smart forces. There are people that control Biden, totally true. I think I know who they are largely.
Dr. Phil has never shied away from controversy, but this time he went all in, and let's say Trump did not take it well. In a shocking interview, the TV therapist sat down with the convicted president and let him rant, whine, and push his usual nonsense. But instead of making Trump look strong, the whole thing backfired spectacularly. Well, his reaction was classic Trump, angry, desperate, and unhinged. So what exactly went down in this mess of an interview? Let's get into it. But before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because seeing Trump embarrassed never gets old.
Right.
Can you imagine? I'm the Republican nominee and I'm not allowed to talk because a local judge from New York, appointed by Democrats, said I can't talk about it. It's so unfair. And then he gives a jury charge.
Oh, here we go again. President Donald Trump, now in his second term, because somehow that happened, is back to his greatest hits, whining about voter fraud and making outlandish claims that sound like rejected stand-up material. In his latest sit-down with America's favorite fake doctor, Dr. Phil McGraw, Trump boldly declared that he could win in deep blue California, but only if Jesus Christ himself came down to personally tally the votes. Yes, the Jesus. Election integrity now requires divine intervention. I guarantee if Jesus came down and were the vote counter, I would win California, okay? Trump boasted, probably expecting thunderous applause. Sure, Don, and if unicorns were in charge of the economy, your businesses wouldn't have gone bankrupt 6 times. He then doubled down, claiming, in other words, if we had an honest vote counter, I do great with the Hispanics. I mean, at a level that no Republican's ever done, but I would win California if we had an honest vote counter.
I'm okay with that. Sometimes, I'm sure in certain moments, I wouldn't be. When you go through what I've been through, they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign. Remember I announced it? They did things that people don't even talk about. And I got rid of Comey, and I got rid of a lot of people.
Let's pause for a reality check. This is the same guy who lost California by over 5 million votes in 2020 after losing it by 4 million in 2016. But sure, Don, it's not because people don't like you. It's a vast left-wing conspiracy orchestrated by ballot harvesting boogeymen and apparently the entire state of California. Of course, Kamala Harris's campaign wasted no time clapping back, with spokeswoman Serafina Chatika pointing out that Trump still can't admit he lost the 2020 election, even after a little thing called a violent insurrection happened in his name. Meanwhile, Trump, still running on pure grievance and Diet Coke, continued spiraling about how Democrats play a different game. Yeah, Don, Democrats' game is called winning elections, and your game is called suing to overturn them and losing every single time. Just when it couldn't get weirder, Trump brought up his brush with death at a Pennsylvania rally where a bullet narrowly missed him. Instead of toning down the rhetoric, he went full televangelist. There had to be some great power. God loves our country and thinks we'll bring it back.
And I don't know where this tax cut's going to go. They say this is going to be a billionaire tax cut. Is that the deal?
God spared Trump for what? More tax cuts for billionaires? Rambling at rallies? His endless war on windmills? He insisted it wasn't luck, but divine intervention. It has to be God. How can you say it's luck when it's 20 million to 1? Right. What the world needed was more of Trump.
When it happened, it was a whack. I mean, I said something's going on there. It was a real whack to the year. But you're not thinking about that. And I was lucky I went down quickly, because if I didn't go down quickly, bullets were coming right over my head when I was down.
In yet another normal moment from his interview with Dr. Phil, President Donald Trump somehow managed to blame Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the bullet that nearly took his comb-over into the afterlife. Dr. Phil, who, let's not forget, is not a real doctor but somehow still qualified to moderate Trump's fever dreams, posed the question, I'm not saying they wanted you to get shot, but do you think it was okay with them if you did? Now, any reasonable person would brush off such a wild suggestion, but this is Donald everything is a conspiracy against me Trump. Instead of taking a moment to, I don't know, acknowledge the tragedy of the event. He seized the opportunity to play the eternal victim. They're saying I'm a threat to democracy. No, they're a threat, Trump huffed, clearly forgetting that inciting a violent mob to storm the Capitol was, in fact, his thing. He went on, claiming that Biden and Harris's words were somehow to blame for the would-be assassin. They would say that. That was a standard line. Just keep saying it, and you know that can get assassins or potential assassins going. Maybe that bullet is because of their rhetoric.
No pressure.
Yeah.
It's nice to lead a life of no pressure whatsoever. Corruption, surrounded by corrupt judges and corrupt politicians. Other than that, there's no pressure.
Classic Trump logic, anything bad that happens to him is someone else's fault. By this standard, if a bird poops on his motorcade, it's probably because CNN said something mean about him. Meanwhile, after the near tragedy, the Secret Service had no choice but to beef up Trump's security to match Biden's, because nothing says strong leader like needing extra babysitters after years of downplaying threats to democracy. The agency admitted they dropped the ball, taking responsibility for the failures that led to gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks getting close enough to graze Trump's ear, though let's be real, that bullet barely made contact. Trump probably took more damage from a gust of wind. Tragically, Crooks' attack also claimed the life of rallygoer Corey Comparatore and injured 2 others. According to the FBI, Crooks had been very thorough in his planning, making countless online searches about both Biden and Trump before ultimately zeroing in on the Butler rally. But naturally, Trump isn't focusing on facts. He's turning this into another pity party.
So accurate. They've weaponized to a level. They are trying to affect the election by demeaning, hurting in any form. And by the way, I think after the election, the hatred's great enough that they'll go,
For years, Trump's team had begged for more Secret Service protection, claiming they needed more agents, more metal detectors, and even more snipers for his rallies. But the agency, already stretched thin, had to allocate resources elsewhere. Like, I don't know, protecting world leaders at the NATO summit. Oh, and in a hilarious twist, on the same day of Trump's rally, First Lady Jill Biden was just 35 miles away at a campaign event for her husband. So according to Trump's logic, maybe that was all part of the deep state master plan, right? Classic Trump. Take a serious issue, ignore facts, blame the wrong people, and play the victim. At least he's consistent. In another round of finger pointing, local law enforcement had offered the Secret Service drone surveillance for Trump's Pennsylvania rally, but they turned it down. A whistleblower later told Senator Josh Hawley R. Missouri that nothing says secure event like rejecting extra help. Days later, Hawley revealed more. The Secret Service's counter-surveillance division, responsible for preventing threats, never even evaluated the Butler rally site and wasn't there on the day of the shooting. Great job, guys. Hawley claimed that if CSD personnel had been at the rally, the gunman would have been caught in the parking lot with a rangefinder. He also accused Acting Director Ronald Rowe of gutting security.
So, 2 things. Number 1, I don't like thinking about it. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I don't want to think about it. Number 2, I have tremendous support. I have the people's support. I think if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to handle it so easily. When a judge who has conflicts like nobody's ever had wants to put me in jail.
Meanwhile, in true Trump fashion, he immediately blamed the Biden-Harris administration for his rally's security failures, because the sitting president should personally handle Trump's event protection while also running the country. The Biden-Harris administration did not properly protect me, and I was forced to take a bullet for democracy. It was my great honor to do so. That's right, Donald J. Trump, self-appointed martyr of democracy, bravely taking bullets so America can be free to hear him whine forever. Adding to the drama, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle conveniently resigned right after delivering a stunningly bad congressional testimony about the incident. Cheadle, who reportedly got her career boost thanks to her close ties with Jill Biden, was put in charge of the agency in 2022. Still, by the time things unraveled, the damage was already done. Naturally, the White House and the Secret Service had no immediate comment, probably because they were too busy rolling their eyes.
May very likely resume the presidency of the United States soon. Which would very likely put him back in a position of being the most powerful man on the planet in terms of politics, military power, and control.
Dr. Phil McGraw faced brutal backlash for his pathetic Trump interview, with critics accusing him of going full-on MAGA. Filmed at Mar-a-Lago, the hour-long chat was a masterclass in softball questions, allowing Trump to spew his usual nonsense unchecked. Dr. Phil even sympathized with the recently convicted president, whining that a judge had muzzled him in his New York hush money trial. In a bizarre display of loyalty, the TV therapist suggested Biden should personally intervene in Trump's legal troubles, even though 2 cases are state-level and completely out of his jurisdiction. jurisdiction. McGraw also tossed out a few conspiracy theories, claiming border officials told him that 13 million migrants had entered the US. No evidence provided, of course, and showing Trump a map of supposed Chinese land buys near military bases as if he had just cracked a top-secret spy operation.
Tonight, I want to hear what you think and what you're feeling about his first 45 days of his second term. Can you believe it's only been 45 days? It's been a whirlwind, to say the least. Would you all agree with that?
At one point, Dr. Phil bizarrely asked why Trump even bothers running for president. You're a billionaire. You have a great family. You're a very dedicated father. Why do you subject yourself to this? The internet wasted no time roasting McGraw's fawning performance. One ex-user called him an unlicensed therapist, a brutal but accurate dig considering Dr. Phil stopped renewing his psychology license in 2006 and is now just another TV personality pushing nonsense. If this interview proved anything, Trump isn't the only one who should take a cognitive test. Now, what do you think? Was this just another softball interview, or did Dr. Phil manage to expose Trump for who he is? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.